The New York Knicks All-Star Center has been playing through pain night after night, but as the team prepares to face the Milwaukee Bucks, one question dominates the headlines. Will Karl-Anthony Towns push through the injury again, or is it finally time for rest? Leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. Karl-Anthony Towns has been listed as questionable on every Knicks injury report this season, yet he hasn't missed a single game. The five-time All-Star continues to take the court despite suffering from a Grade 2 quadriceps strain, an injury that typically sidelines most players for several weeks. As the Knicks prepare for their road test against Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks, the debate intensifies. Is his determination helping the team or risking something far worse? Towns once again headlines New York's injury list heading into the 8 p.m. Eastern Time tip-off at Fiserv Forum. According to SNY's Ian Begley, Towns remains questionable due to his lingering right quad strain. He's joined on the report by guard Miles McBride and forward Gershon Yabusele. McBride has missed the past two contests while attending to personal matters, though he's expected to return soon. Yabusele's name, however, is a new and worrying addition. The French forward suffered a left knee sprain, raising fresh concerns for a Knicks frontcourt already stretched thin. Mitchell Robinson remains out as well, still recovering from a left ankle injury that has sidelined him for 4 straight games. The team continues to take a cautious approach with Robinson, avoiding any unnecessary risk after his recent history of lower body setbacks. For head coach Mike Brown, these absences leave limited options in the paint. Ariel Hukporti has shown flashes of promise, but the physical gap between him and Towns is undeniable. With Yabusele potentially out and Robinson unavailable, Brown's rotation against Milwaukee could be severely tested, and that could force Towns back onto the floor whether he's ready or not. What Towns is doing is both admirable and alarming. Every night, he laces up knowing he's not at full strength. His debut with the Knicks, a 19-point, 11-rebound performance against the Cleveland Cavaliers, was impressive but visibly painful. Cameras caught him limping at times, and after the game, Towns admitted he was fighting through it just to stay on the court. 2 nights later, in Boston, he looked more like the dominant version Knicks fans hoped for. He poured in 26 points and grabbed 13 rebounds in just 33 minutes, hitting shots from the perimeter and controlling the glass. But his body language hinted that every possession took a toll. Then came the Miami Heat. In that game, Towns' limitations became evident. He still pulled down 18 rebounds, showing his trademark hustle, but shot just 6 for 14 from the field and struggled to finish plays in traffic. His first step looked slower, his lift off the floor lower, and defenders seemed to sense it. Despite those struggles, the numbers remain impressive. Through 3 games, Towns is averaging 20 points and 14 rebounds per contest. But those numbers only tell part of the story. Watching him play reveals a star giving everything he has while his body resists each effort. After the season opener, Towns confirmed what had been widely suspected: his quad injury is serious. Dealing with a Grade 2 quad strain, it's not something that's easy to manage, Towns told reporters. But I'm trying to be there for my teammates. That's what matters. A Grade 2 strain usually requires 2 to 4 weeks of rest and rehabilitation. Instead, Towns has been logging over 30 minutes per game. That kind of workload risks turning a moderate injury into something much more severe. A partial muscle tear can become a complete one if not given proper recovery time, and that would sideline him for months rather than weeks. Beyond the medical risks, there's a strategic dilemma. Playing Towns in this condition might help the Knicks stay competitive in the short term, but at what cost? With Mitchell Robinson already out, losing Towns for an extended stretch would be devastating. The coaching staff has to weigh every factor carefully. There's the competitive drive of the player, the urgency of early season momentum, and the long-term goal of keeping their franchise cornerstone healthy. The signs are visible even in his best performances. Towns' lateral movement has slowed, especially when defending quicker forwards. His first step lacks the same burst when attacking off the dribble. Even his vertical lift, once a key part of his finishing ability, appears limited. Against Miami, the difference was clear. His mid-range jumper looked a touch flat, and defenders weren't hesitating to challenge him at the rim. Still, he remained active, setting screens, grabbing rebounds, and spacing the floor for Jalen Brunson, who continues to thrive as New York's offensive leader. That combination, Towns' presence inside and Brunson's creativity outside, has given the Knicks a potent offensive identity. But if Towns' condition worsens, the entire balance of their system could be disrupted. Now comes the toughest test yet. Facing Giannis Antetokounmpo requires physicality, endurance, and explosiveness, all areas that put immense pressure on Towns' injured quad. Giannis' constant downhill drives and ability to draw contact make him one of the most punishing matchups in basketball. For Towns, even a brief lapse in mobility could lead to foul trouble, defensive breakdowns, or, worse, aggravation of the injury. The risk-reward equation becomes brutal. Guard Giannis and help your team compete, or sit out and preserve your long-term health. If Yabusel can't play and Robinson remains unavailable, Brown may have little choice but to rely heavily on Towns again. That scenario could define not just one game, but the course of New York's early season. The Knicks are caught between two competing realities. They need Towns to stay competitive, but they also need him healthy to chase anything meaningful this year. It's the kind of crossroads every team dreads, where short-term ambition collides with long-term survival. Towns' toughness and commitment can't be questioned. He's doing what leaders do, playing through pain, setting an example, giving everything for his team. But at some point, the organization must decide whether his presence on the court is worth the potential cost. Because in a long NBA season, one wrong step could change everything, not just for Karl-Anthony Towns, but for the New York Knicks' entire season. Jalen Brunson launches MVP-caliber campaign for the Knicks. The New York Knicks are barely a week into the new NBA season, but Jalen Brunson has already set the tone for what could be a career-defining year. The All-Star guard isn't just scoring. He's commanding, leading, and elevating a team still trying to find its rhythm amid early injuries and roster adjustments. And through it all, Brunson looks every bit like an early frontrunner in the league's MVP race. From the opening tip of the season, Brunson has carried himself like a man on a mission. Averaging a career-best 30.3 points per game through New York's first three contests, he's once again shouldering the scoring load that defines this team's offensive identity. The Knicks had intended to diversify their offense this season, to give Brunson more off-ball opportunities, to let the ball swing freely, and to create a system less reliant on one man. But basketball, as it often does, had other plans. Early injuries across the roster have forced the offense right back into Brunson's hands, and he's embraced the challenge with the same grit and control that made him a star. He's attacking defenses, dictating tempo, and thriving as both a scorer and floor general. The result? One of the most explosive starts in Knicks history, and one that's demanding attention across the league. Carrying the load again. New York's depth was supposed to ease the pressure on Brunson. Instead, it's magnified his value. Karl-Anthony Towns, who's battling through lingering health concerns, has struggled to find consistency. New acquisitions Gershon Yabusel and Jordan Clarkson, both brought in to provide scoring and spacing, have yet to deliver at the level expected. That's left Brunson, once again, as the heartbeat of the Knicks offense, and he hasn't disappointed. Every possession seems to run through him. Whether he's slicing through the lane with that signature hesitation dribble, pulling up from mid-range, or stepping back behind the arc, Brunson's confidence and control make him nearly impossible to contain. And when he's locked in, the entire Garden feels it, a rhythm that pulses through the crowd, the bench, and every play that follows. Brunson's offensive versatility has always been his greatest weapon. He's not the biggest guard, nor the flashiest, but his balance, footwork, and precision separate him from most of his peers. This season, those skills have been on full display. Even with defenses keying in on him, he's found ways to generate offense, whether by scoring himself or drawing multiple defenders to create open looks for teammates. Keeping pace with the NBA's elite. Around the league, several big names have come out swinging with monster stat lines. Luka Doncic, Brunson's former teammate, is averaging in the mid-40s in points per game. Others like Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine, and Benedict Mathurin have also started strong. But there's a difference between a hot streak and sustained excellence. Brunson's production feels sustainable, the product of skill, poise, and experience, not just a burst of early-season adrenaline. His efficiency may not yet be where he wants it to be, but that only makes his start more impressive. He's putting up elite numbers even while shooting a career-low 45.3% from the field and 33% from deep, despite launching a personal-high 9 three-point attempts per game. Those numbers are bound to climb. He's already hitting his stride, making 8 of his last 18 shots from long range since an off night in the opener. When those percentages rise, and they will, Brunson's scoring average could soar even higher. But even as it stands, he's one of the few players in the league combining high volume, leadership, and consistency at this level. Winning matters. Stats are only part of the story. MVP cases are built on impact, on translating numbers into wins. And Brunson is doing just that. The Knicks currently sit at 2-1, with their only defeat coming against the Miami Heat, one of the East's toughest defensive squads. In both victories, Brunson's fingerprints were all over the outcome. When New York needed a bucket, he delivered. When they needed composure, he brought it. Under head coach Mike Brown, the Knicks have emphasized adaptability and defensive discipline, but Brunson's offensive control remains the team's backbone. His presence on the floor changes everything, from spacing to tempo to confidence. And as New York continues to build chemistry around him, it's clear that Brunson isn't just the team's leader, he's their identity. The MVP conversation. It's early, but there's no denying it. Jalen Brunson has forced his way into the MVP discussion. His combination of scoring prowess, leadership, and winning impact fits every traditional criterion for the award. And beyond the numbers, there's something intangible about his rise, a sense that Brunson is still climbing, still evolving, still nowhere near his peak. He's competing in an era stacked with superstars: Doncic, Jokic, Giannis, Tatum, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yet Brunson's name belongs right alongside them. His consistency, durability, and ability to deliver under pressure make him one of the league's most reliable closers. And while his workload may eventually lighten as the Knicks regain full health, his influence won't fade. He's proven capable of anchoring the team in every type of game, grinding defensive battles, fast-paced shootouts, or clutch-time showdowns. The road ahead. Brunson's start to the season feels like more than just a hot streak. It feels like a statement that he's ready to take his place among the game's elite and lead the Knicks into serious contention. Madison Square Garden has seen its share of stars come and go, but few have connected with the city the way Brunson has. His toughness, humility, and relentless drive embody exactly what New York basketball is supposed to be. If he keeps this up, the scoring, the leadership, the composure, there's little doubt he'll remain in the MVP race deep into the season. But for Brunson, it's not just about individual accolades. It's about winning, about setting a tone for a franchise that's been hungry for a true leader. Through 3 games, Jalen Brunson isn't just the Knicks' most valuable player. He's one of the NBA's most complete guards, a relentless competitor proving night after night that he belongs among basketball's best. And if this start is any indication, the rest of the league should be paying close attention, because Jalen Brunson is coming for more than just points. He's coming for respect, recognition, and possibly the NBA's highest individual honor. The future of LeBron James, one of the greatest players the game has ever seen, is once again at the center of the NBA's biggest conversation. As the 2025-26 season approaches, the Los Angeles Lakers are turning the page to a new era, one that now revolves around Luka Doncic. The message coming out of Los Angeles is loud and clear. The franchise is preparing for the future, not living in the past. And for LeBron James, that might be the beginning of the end of his Hollywood chapter. Even after exercising his massive $52.6 million player option to stay with the Lakers for one more season, there's an undeniable sense that change is coming. James remains productive, still capable of elite performances, but at 40 years old and entering his 23rd season in the league, the question has shifted from can he still do it, to where will he do it next? Then came the statement from his longtime agent, Rich Paul, and that's when the NBA world really started paying attention. LeBron wants to compete for a championship, Paul told ESPN in a measured but unmistakably revealing tone. He knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but he values having a realistic chance to win it all. We're grateful for the partnership we've shared with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka over the past 8 years and recognize how important the Lakers have been in LeBron's career. We understand it's not easy to balance winning now while developing for tomorrow. But at this point in his life and career, LeBron wants to make every season count. The Lakers know that, they support that, and they want what's best for him. It was a statement loaded with subtext, diplomatic, yes, but clear enough to spark endless speculation. For many insiders, it sounded like a soft goodbye, or at least a hint that the door is open. And one team, in particular, has been mentioned as a destination that could make sense both competitively and symbolically: the New York Knicks. Christian Winfield of the New York Daily News went as far as to urge the Knicks to act, boldly and decisively, before the rest of the league catches on. "The East is wide open," Winfield wrote. If the Knicks land LeBron, they instantly become the favorites. A big three of James, Brunson, and Towns would rival Oklahoma City's core of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren as the best in basketball. Winfield didn't stop there. He argued that the move would completely reshape the balance of power in the NBA, forcing rivals to rethink their entire approach. It would send teams like Cleveland and Orlando back to the drawing board. Because adding Desmond Bane is cute. Mitchell and Garland? Impressive. But LeBron? He's still the king, and when he locks in on a title run, history shows that very few have ever been able to stop him. For the Knicks, the idea isn't as far-fetched as it might sound. The franchise has finally built a foundation of credibility and competitiveness under head coach Mike Brown, with Jalen Brunson emerging as one of the league's most dependable floor generals and Karl-Anthony Towns giving them an all-star level front-court anchor. The team has depth, shooting, and a defensive identity, but what they lack is a true championship closer. LeBron James, even in the twilight of his career, remains exactly that. The Knicks, sitting in an Eastern Conference that feels wide open, could make a legitimate title run with the right addition. Boston is still strong but not unbeatable. Milwaukee has question marks surrounding its chemistry and health. Philadelphia continues to deal with uncertainty around its core. Miami is always dangerous but lacks the firepower of old. In short, there's an opening. And in Madison Square Garden, the league's most famous arena, there's always been a longing for a true superstar to lead a title run. LeBron in New York wouldn't just be a basketball move, it would be a cultural earthquake. Of course, the power to make that happen rests entirely in LeBron's hands. His contract includes a full no-trade clause, meaning no deal can happen without his consent. The Lakers can't send him anywhere unless he wants to go there. It's a privilege reserved for the elite of the elite, and James has earned it. The question is whether he's ready to close his Lakers chapter. Los Angeles has brought him one championship, the 2020 title inside the Orlando bubble, but since then, the franchise has been plagued by inconsistency, roster turnover, and aging stars. Anthony Davis remains elite defensively, but injuries have continued to haunt him. The addition of Luka Doncic gives the Lakers a long-term star, but it also signals a philosophical shift, one that might not align with James' remaining window to contend. If James truly wants to chase one last ring, New York could be the stage. It's a market built for legends, a city that thrives under pressure, and a franchise desperate for a return to glory. Imagine the sight, LeBron James, wearing Knicks blue and orange, leading a packed Madison Square Garden into June. It's the kind of image that would electrify not just the city, but the entire league. As LeBron enters his 23rd NBA season, the questions are multiplying. Can he still dominate? Yes. Can he still lead a team deep into the playoffs? History suggests he can. But perhaps the more pressing question now is where will he finish his story? The Lakers' era might not be over yet, but with whispers of discontent and the lure of a fresh challenge in New York, the clock is ticking. If the Knicks make the call, and LeBron answers, the NBA could be on the verge of witnessing one of the most dramatic power shifts in years. Because when the king chooses his next throne, the entire basketball world stops to watch.